Stephanie from Youre Lovely, where we carry the largest selection of wood flowers in the United States. Welcome back to a tutorial. Today is so much fun. We are going to play with a flower that we have had multiple tutorials about, but today we're going to do something a little bit different with it. I'm very excited to show you these. I'm going to show you, are you ready? How to make these lovely hydrangeas from a raw hydrangea bunch. We're also gonna do one other technique. I will show you. This is the exact same product, just in reverse. So we're gonna break these down, and then I'm gonna do one other with this one. These are so much fun to play with. Oh, I'm so excited. If you're excited too, make sure to drop a comment down below, give us a thumbs up. If you're new around here, go check out yourelovely.com. We have over 150 different style wood flowers, craft supplies, and greenery. And I have a little something for you. Use the code YouTube30 to get 30% off one regular priced order, which could include hydrangeas. All right, let's jump into it. Now the supply that we're gonna use, or the material, or I don't know the other words that I wanna use for this, to create these two different, but same in some ways, hydrangeas, is Holi powder. We're gonna use Holi powder again. We have a couple different tutorials on that. We're gonna bring you on down. I'll show you how to use it. It's really, really simple. I really love this particular product. I don't use it nearly as much as I probably should. And it gives just a really soft kind of vibe for the flowers. And you can build it up too. I'll say that too, but we're gonna make it this like soft, lovely. I'm really loving this one in particular. And then I have one other material later on in the video you're gonna have to stick around for. We're gonna try something else, and we'll also talk about some of the fun things about the hydrangeas. And again, I will make sure to link the other videos that we've included with hydrangeas, because the hydrangea is one of the most versatile wood flowers we carry. And I will explain in just a minute why, because man, there is so much you can do with this particular flower, and it's so much fun. All right, let's jump into it. All right, so I'm gonna explain what we're gonna do, and then we'll talk about some of the fun stuff that happens with hydrangea blooms that you can do. I would like to play with this one for now. Okay, and I keep my Holi powder in little containers. When I get the Holi powder, I ordered it from Amazon a very long time ago, and I'm still using the same stuff since then. And I will, if it's still available, I will link the exact Holi powder that I use. This Holi powder also, you can look for Fun Run color. That's basically what it is. It's like cornstarch and flat color, and I don't know exactly how it's made, but it's amazing and wonderful. The trick to using Holi powder, I find, is using makeup brushes instead of paint brushes. You could also use paint brushes, but they're gonna be really expensive paint brushes probably when you get the real nice big fluffy ones. So I just get like from Five Below, the dollar store, things like that. I get makeup brushes from there and use them. I find big fluffy brushes works the best. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is, with a more condensed, tighter, I'm going to put color in the centers. And with the hydrangea blooms, there's usually about between like 20 to 25 of these little blooms on here. And at first, I'm just gonna, whoop, I don't want that much. So I kind of tap off the excess, and then I'm just putting this in here. Once I then blow off all of the remaining excess, and there's not really much movement after that. And if you want it to be lighter, these are pretty bright. If you want it to be lighter, dust off even more, and you'll get a lighter kind of application. See, like that one compared to those. Isn't that fun too, just to color the centers? I like to do that. I also have a yellow that I like to color in the centers, but I'm gonna show you a different material in just a minute for another way to color in the centers that isn't this powder, but is also an easier, I feel like an easy way to do it instead of watering down paint. It saves you one step. Okay, so There's that. So then I blow off with I just blow off the excess. So, sorry, I didn't warn you before I did that. We're gonna do it again. Okay. Now, this is lovely just as is, but we're gonna add that green that kind of is pretty famous for hydrangeas. So I'm taking a bigger fluffy brush, and now I'm just gonna kind of dust the edges of the flower. And I don't need a lot of this green, so I'm not gonna dip it nearly as much. Like with the pink one, or the pink, I was putting it in pretty much every single flower. But with the green, I just want to kind of dust it on the edges of the flowers to give me that little bit of a light green kind of vibe to it. And you can layer, so if you want it to be a little bit darker, you can go in again. And because these are like compacted, I find that they don't be too rough with them, but you can kind of get a little quick with it. And I think part of that is just because of that big fluffy brush and the compactness of the flower. Okay, so can you look at that? Oh man, so pretty. Now, one thing I was gonna talk about is other things you can do with these particular hydrangeas. Now, they are all wired up individually onto a stem. You can unravel this and take out all of the wires, or you can also just clip them at that base. And then what I like to do, and we'll do this in a minute, but then what I like to do is to make little bunches and make little fillers with these as well. So let's do the pink one, and we'll chat about some of the other cool, fun things that happen with the hydrangeas. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna flip-flop it. I'm still gonna use the smaller brush, even though I've got some pink on there. That's all right. Not the end of the story, not the end of it. And it actually creates some interesting kind of color combinations in there. So we're just going to start putting in that green. Now with the green, you can, oh, here, this is the other thing. We're gonna put in the green first, then we'll put in the pink. But if we feel like the green needs to be bumped up a notch, we're gonna re-put in some more green at the end after that pink has been applied to. So other things you can do with the hydrangea bloom. One of the other really fun things that we like to do with them is to make them into either pansies or violets. And I will make sure to include the tutorial on how to do that. They are one of my favorite spring flowers. Now we do also have hydrangea blooms by themselves with no wires on them. So if you don't want to buy a full hydrangea and cut it apart and you want just the style of the flower, we do have those as well in the shop. The only tricky thing sometimes is wiring them up. And what I found to be the easier thing to do to wire them is to hook a piece of wire around the base of the end of the flower. Just because they're hard to get a wire stem in sometimes because of how tiny the little entrance of the flower, I guess, would be, if that's the best way to describe it. Words today are not coming to me as well as they normally do. All right, so now with our big fluffy brush, I'm adding my pink, and I am doing a little bit more pink as far as the amount I'm putting on my brush compared to what I did when I had the green on the fluffy one. That's just a personal preference of how saturated you want it to be. Now, like this one, I just covered up all the green, so we're definitely gonna go back into that one in a second so I can get some green back in there. And blow that off. And that actually took quite a bit of that excess away, which is good. There we go. Oh, this one's pretty. So then, wherever I had like a little bit of loss of my green center, I'm gonna go back in a little bit. Now, if you want it to be a little bit more opaque and really condensed as far as the color, instead of it looking kind of soft and dusted, you can spray a little bit of water into the center before you put the Holi powder in, but I don't want that right now. I want it to be more kind of softer, I guess is a good way to describe it. Now I feel like over here I want a little bit more pink, and I'm just gonna go off of the one I already had. I'm just gonna dust it a little bit more. There we go. Here are our different hydrangea blooms. Now let me show you one other thing we're gonna do. Okay, now for this one, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a paint pen. So this is an acrylic paint pen, and because I'm only going into the centers of the flowers, I'm not worried about the paint causing the flower to be brittle or cracked because it's right in the center. It's not gonna affect the outer petals. So we're gonna shake this up, and this is gonna make your filling in flower centers so stinking fast. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, once it's nice and shook up, if it's a brand new paint pen, you need to like dab it a bunch on like paper or something to get the paint to come through the tip, but once it's there, it's there. So then I'm just going to just go in the center, that little knobby guy right in the center. And you know what? Let's just for fun see what happens. Now this is just water in my water bottle. Oh yeah, ha ha, perfect. So if you spray some water while the paint is on there, it then disperses that color too. So then you get a little bit of a diffused kind of centered yellow going on. Only thing, you'll want something to, there's a little bit of excess of water. If you want to get that off, you're gonna wanna have something to kind of dip your flower into. So I'm just gonna dab, 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 dab. Now you could do this with a paintbrush too. I just felt like using a paint pen, especially if I just want the one color in the center, quick and easy, down and dirty, might as well just use one particular supply, not have to mix up my paint or get my paint out and then put water in, you know, all that stuff. So this is just another way to do it. I feel is a little bit easier, but they both come with their pluses and minuses. Okay, so now that I've got that going on, so you can kind of see where I let it diffuse with the water and where I didn't. And it's a personal preference, what you want. But I don't have much water left in here, so we're gonna see what we can get to happen. And I'm just kind of willy-nillying it. And I might even just let the paint go where the paint wants to go as far as it's diffusing. Okay, that's done, but let's take it apart to show you what you can do as far as to stem. Now, you could take these apart first before you paint them, depending on what you want to do. That's what I always do when I'm doing pansies or violets. I've cut them off beforehand, excuse me, and then dye them however I want. Okay, so there's a bunch of them, but then I'm going to show you, let's see if I can find the start of this tape. Sometimes it's easy to get it apart, sometimes it's not. Here, yeah, okay. So you can take this off. And each one's gonna be slightly different. I'm gonna try to go from here. Oh, come here, you. That's why I always just cut them from the top. But I want to show you that you can take this apart too. And then you can have longer stems or wires if that's what you want for whatever you're working on. Sometimes I can get the paper off a lot easier, sometimes not. Today is a sometimes not day. Let me get this cleaned up, you guys. I'll get the paper off and then I'll show you what the rest of the bottom looks like, okay? Okay, so we've gotten a little bit farther here. There is a wire that's like wrapped around the stem itself that you need to remove first. And once that's removed, it makes getting to the stems a lot easier. And remember, we cut a bunch off, so some of these are just loose wires now. But if you're looking to have a little bit longer of a wire stem, this will do that. So in comparison, this little guy and his little wire compared to this one. So depending on what you're doing, it may make sense to take it apart from the stem itself. Otherwise, taking it apart just by cutting them down will also work. So then what I do, I like doing it in groups of 3, but everybody's different. You can do it individually too. So then what I do, take 3 together, twist it around to create basically one little wire. And I'm just gonna take a simple, like a stem that was off of a piece of greenery, but then I'm just gonna wrap that around nice and tight. And now I have a stemmed up little filler. You can also, if you want additional security, take some floral wire and wrap it around. But now with we're gonna do the same thing with the longer stems. I'll grab 3 of those. There we go. Now you have much longer stems in order to make it a little bit more secure when wrapping it around your stem base. So now here are 2 different variations. That one I didn't make as tight as the other one. There we go. And then you just put them in to your arrangement. Oh, stinking cute. There you have it. This is a quick one, but it's one of those, the amazing wonderfulness that is the hydrangea blooms, and so much you can do with them. Again, we have multiple tutorials about the hydrangeas because we love them so much. My hair, what the heck is happening over there? We absolutely love the hydrangea. It's one of our original flowers, one of the original, what we would consider a luxe flower. Love them, love them, love them. So excited. If you have not played with them, I hope this inspires you to play with them, and it can be super easy and not very daunting at all. And if you really want to deep dive into the hydrangeas and how to dye them in all sorts of different ways, I will make sure to, as I've said multiple times. So hold me to it. There will be multiple videos linked down below in the description of all of our different hydrangea dyeing tutorial techniques, whatever you want to call them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure, again, to give it a thumbs up. Leave us a comment down below. Have you worked with the hydrangeas? Are they your favorite? They are. You know they are. Oh, I love them. So next week, I think most likely we're gonna be taking the hydrangeas and all of the other flowers that we've worked with in the last couple of weeks, and we're gonna create an arrangement with them all. We'll see how that goes. So you'll get to see also how to use a full hydrangea bloom in an arrangement, as well as those little fillers. All right, last few things. If you're loving this channel, can't get enough, wanna know the next time we post a video, which is typically on Wednesdays, but we'll just say at least once a week we have a video up. You can make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified every time that video goes up. Again, don't forget that YouTube code down below. Use the code YouTube30 to get 30% off one regular priced order. And I will see you next week for another tutorial. I'm Stephanie from Youre Lovely. You, my friends, absolutely lovely. Bye, guys.